Mace Windu has always been seen as a unique Jedi, especially with his one-of-a-kind purple lightsaber. His sometimes blunt attitude made him, in some fans' eyes, appear arrogant.
I'm sorry, citizen. These matters are for the Council to discuss.
From one perspective, depicting how the Jedi Order had strayed from their old compassionate ways. But did he actually do something wrong? Or has the story of Mace Windu been misinterpreted?
He is to be trained then?
No, he will not be trained.
Since the time of the Phantom Menace, this Jedi Master had always opposed training the Chosen One. He saw it as too dangerous and unpredictable. He believed that if this vergence in the Force was real, it couldn't be controlled, and he was quite right about that. As one of the leading members of the Council, what fascinates me about Mace Windu as a character is the symbolic role he played. By observing him, you could often understand that the Council's stance on various issues. Their misguided involvement in a war and forgetting their true purpose can be linked to some of Mace Windu's decisions, such as suggesting to assassinate Count Dooku in the book Dark Disciple, cutting off Jango Fett's head, or wanting to kill Palpatine instead of arresting him.
He has control of the Senate and the courts. He's too dangerous to be left alive.
As these examples points out, Mace was rarely wrong, but there is absolutely a case for calling him more of a politician or idealist than an actual Jedi Master, a criticism the entire Order could be given in the latter years of their existence. There are very few times when I've seen Mace Windu show empathy or understand someone's perspective. His conversation with a young Boba Fett is case in point in this regard.
I see now I've done terrible things. But you started when you murdered my father. I'll never forgive you.
Well, you're going to have to.
This brings us back to the dilemma of what the Jedi should represent and how they should view the galaxy and its inhabitants. I'm certain that Mace contemplated his decisions from the perspective of what a quote-unquote true Jedi should do. He was obviously well respected within the Order, ranking only second to Yoda himself, but that this character was a textbook Jedi Master that followed the code to perfection is a very simplified viewpoint. Instead, he often expressed his concerns and thoughts regardless of what the rest of the Order would think about them. Therefore, I wouldn't really call him a flawed character, rather someone who communicated in a very non-Jedi way, if that's something you could say, which in turn made him very interesting. He served as a contrast to Anakin, not tolerating his silly behavior.
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
You could argue that a Jedi should be blunt and clear in their words, prioritizing truth over sparing others' feelings. However, this approach could backfire, make them look very naive and in truth the opposite to compassionate, which is a criticism that could be directed at Mace.
Thousands of Jedi once there were. Then came war. In our arrogance, join the conflict swiftly we did. Fear, anger, hate. Consumed by the dark side, the Jedi were.
The more recent content with Mace Windu in Clone Wars and Tales of the Jedi has both done his character good and bad. When you look at the lore, Mace was always viewed as a warrior, using the extremely difficult lightsaber form 7. He was one of the most powerful fighters of his time, something the movies didn't have time to delve into. We only really saw the full potential of it in his lightsaber battle with Palpatine.
You are under arrest, my lord.
Clone Wars and especially the Ryloth arc from Season 1 displayed the strengths this character possessed in his phenomenal leadership abilities and fighting spirit. He's actually very similar to Anakin in this regard, that they both thrived in the heat of the battle. My favorite scene with this character isn't even from any of the canon stuff, rather it comes from the Clone Wars made by Genndy Tartakovsky when this sole Jedi takes on an entire battlefield alone. Of course, this is over-exaggerated, but I think it symbolizes perfectly how this master was viewed by other members of the Order, and why he was so respected. Yet it also feels like the more fresh content tries to paint him in a picture that doesn't quite fit with what George Lucas wanted to achieve. He is often, in a more apparent way than before, being rude and short-sighted for no specific reason at all. In truth, the Jedi as a whole has in recent years been portrayed in an unfair way, making them more and more dumb and ignorant to fit with the idea of them eventually failing. Just look at the Acolyte.
Yod, put your clothes on.
In the movies, Windu's actions always stemmed from some kind of purpose. He was strict but always fair, and that's why he often stood against the Chosen One, because Anakin was anything but reasonable in most of his arguments. I haven't seen this take online, and it kind of fascinates me. And it's that Mace Windu is an example of what Anakin could have been if he had learned discipline and self-control. Instead, the Chosen One became like a dark side version of Mace once he was Darth Vader, in that he was single-minded and disciplined in his commitment to the dark side. As I mentioned earlier, these characters are more alike than you might think, and I believe George had this in mind when writing them. They are two powerful Jedi, opposite yet similar at the same time, whose fates intervene when the future of the universe is at stake.
At this point of the Clone War, I have dismantled and destroyed over 100,000 of you Type 1 battle droids. I'm giving you an opportunity to peacefully lay down your weapons, so that you may be reprogrammed to serve a better purpose than spreading the mindless violence and chaos which you have inflicted upon the galaxy.
So to summarize, I would say that Mace Windu is one of the most interesting Jedi out there, that his philosophy and communication made him into something different. It's very easy to make Jedi boring characters without real personalities, something I think Ahsoka suffered from in anything beyond the Clone Wars. In the question of whether I want him back or not, I would absolutely say no. And you can watch this video and find out why I think Star Wars characters should stay dead. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you will have a great day.